Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our podcast. Before we say anything else, before we talk about English, learning, progress, or goals, we want to say one very important thing, very clearly and very slowly.
You do not need fast English to be good at English.
Many English learners think that real English means fast speaking, difficult words, and long grammar explanations.
But real English, the English you use in your life, usually starts very slowly.
So today's episode is especially for you if you ever feel tired when listening to English, if you feel lost after a few minutes, or if your mind says, "This is too fast for me."
Because this episode is a slow English podcast, and everything here is designed to give your brain time to listen, understand, and relax.
You don't need to repeat after us. You don't need to take notes. You don't even need to understand every word.
You just need to stay with the sound of English and let it enter your ears naturally.
Segment 1. What slow English really means.
Jack, when people hear slow English, they sometimes think it means childish English or simple English for beginners only.
Yes, but slow English is not about level. It's about space.
Space between words, space between ideas, space for thinking.
When English is slow, your brain has time to connect sounds to meaning.
And when your brain has time, learning becomes easier and less stressful.
Fast English often forces learners to translate.
Slow English allows learners to feel the language instead of fighting with it.
That feeling is very important because language is not only logic, it's rhythm.
Segment 2. Listening slowly without trying to understand everything.
Jack, I think one of the biggest misunderstandings in language learning is the idea that listening means understanding every single word clearly and immediately. Because this idea quietly creates stress in the listener's mind, even before the listening really begins.
Yes, and when stress enters the mind, the brain stops being curious and starts being defensive, which means that instead of opening itself to new sounds, it closes itself and focuses only on survival, translation, and fear of missing something important.
This is why we keep saying that in a slow English podcast, listening is not an action you perform, but a space you enter, where words are allowed to pass through your ears naturally, without being stopped, analyzed, or judged one by one.
When you listen slowly and calmly, you may notice that you don't understand everything, but you understand something. And that something slowly grows with every repetition, every pause, and every familiar phrase that comes back again and again.
And this is very important to say clearly. Partial understanding is not a problem. It is the normal and healthy stage of learning, because the brain learns language in layers, not in perfect full sentences from the beginning.
So if during this podcast your mind sometimes drifts, sometimes focuses, and sometimes feels a little lost, that is not a failure. That is your brain doing its job quietly in the background.
Segment 3. How slow English enters your speaking naturally.
Many learners tell us that they feel blocked when they try to speak English, not because they don't know words, but because their thoughts move faster than their ability to form sentences. And this creates frustration, silence, and self-doubt.
What slow English does is something very gentle but very powerful. It slows down the internal rhythm of English inside your mind, so that when you want to speak, Your thoughts don't rush ahead of your language.
Instead of building sentences word by word with effort, your brain begins to remember full sentence patterns, like familiar paths that it has walked many times while listening.
This is why speaking after slow listening often feels calmer, less forced, and more natural, even if your grammar is not perfect and your vocabulary is still limited.
Because communication does not require perfection, it requires flow. And flow is born from familiarity, not from rules.
So when you listen to slow English regularly, you are not preparing to speak later. You are already building speaking quietly, invisibly, and patiently.
Segment 4. Slow English as a daily background presence.
English learning becomes heavy when it asks for special time, special energy, and special motivation, because life is already full, and learners often don't have extra space for pressure.
Slow English podcasts work differently because they don't demand focus. They offer companionship, something you can listen to while living your normal life, without changing your routine or forcing your attention.
You can listen while walking slowly, while washing dishes, while resting after a long day, or even while staring out of a window doing nothing at all.
And during these moments, English becomes a familiar sound in your life, not a difficult task you must complete.
This familiarity is extremely powerful because language grows best when it is present often, not when it is studied aggressively.
Over time, English stops feeling foreign and starts feeling expected, like a voice you recognize.
Segment 5. Staying with confusion without escaping it.
One of the hardest emotional skills in language learning is staying with confusion without immediately escaping it. Because confusion feels uncomfortable and makes learners doubt themselves.
But confusion is actually the space where learning happens, because it means your brain is meeting something new that it hasn't fully organized yet.
Slow English gives confusion room to exist without panic, because the speed allows the brain to sit with uncertainty instead of being overwhelmed by it.
And when confusion is allowed to stay calmly, it slowly turns into recognition, and recognition slowly turns into understanding.
So instead of asking yourself, "Why don't I understand this?" you can gently ask, "What part of this feels familiar?"
That small shift in question changes the entire emotional experience of learning.
Segment 6. Extremely long, guided, slow listening experience.
Right now, there is nothing you need to do, nothing you need to remember, and nothing you need to repeat. Because this moment is only about letting English exist around you at a comfortable speed.
Listen to how sentences take time to arrive at their meaning, how ideas are not rushed, and how pauses are part of communication, not empty spaces.
This rhythm is important because your brain learns not only from words, but from silence, tone, and timing.
And the more your brain experiences this rhythm, the more natural English will feel inside you.
Ultra extended outro. Slow progress is real progress.
If your English journey feels slow, that does not mean it is weak, unsuccessful, or wrong. It simply means it is human, deep, and growing in a way that lasts.
Fast learning often disappears quickly, but slow learning stays with you because it becomes part of who you are, not just something you studied.
You are not behind. You are not late. You are exactly where your learning needs you to be.
Thank you for choosing to learn without fear.
Thank you for allowing yourself time.
We will continue slowly, patiently, and together.
See you in the next slow episode.